Alright, so I've got a Chauvet Hurricane 901 fogger. The fog machine comes out, the fog comes out, but it sputters along. So we are going to try to take it apart and see if we can check out the motor and maybe clean it up a little bit with some vinegar, as opposed to just doing it directly from the putting the vinegar inside the fog tank, which is right here. And let's see how it comes out. Alright, so I took apart the case just by taking apart, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. Oops, they're on the floor now. 2 on the side, on each side, and then 2 on the top. So what I'm going to try to do is undo this little guy here, and then just clean it out, clean out the tube, and clean out some of these here to see if maybe some of those are a little clogged, and then we'll see how it goes. So what I did now is I unhooked this tube here, and just using a 1/2" wrench, pretty standard. And then there are 2 screws on the bottom of this guy that holds the pump in place. So what I did was I just took out those 2 screws, 1 and 2, and now I took a picture of this to make sure I know how to put it back together. White on the right and then the black on the left, just to make sure that way everything is put back the way it should be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy apart and then unscrew this guy, because there's different pieces in here that I'm going to try to clean out and make sure that they're nice and clean. And then we'll put it back together and see how it goes. Okay, so I just took this little guy apart, just taking off these 2 little screws. And what the way it looks like is this goes in here, and this goes all the way there and sticks out to the other side. This little piece is where the tube connects to. Okay, sorry about that. So now I'm going to start taking apart the insides, start taking these off, and then it's just soaking them in vinegar. And there's a lot of little O-rings inside, so I'm going to take them apart, and there's a little ball inside as well. I'm going to take everything apart, clean them nice and good with some vinegar, and then dry them off and put them back together. Okay, so now I put it back together. As I said, I took pictures along the way to make sure I put it back together. I know exactly where everything goes in terms of the wires, the rings, all the individual pieces. So now what I did was I took off this little nozzle here. Let me get it for you real quick. And that piece actually goes here, which is what goes inside the fog tank. So what I did was I'm just letting it sit in some vinegar for a couple minutes. And while that's sitting, I'm going to put this guy back together, and I'll be back in a minute. So everything's put back together. Got some fog juice hooked up, just using a standard Chauvet manual controller. I usually have these connected to a wireless controller, but for now this will do. Okay, here we go. I accidentally pushed the button, so here we go. Let's see how the end result is. Much better. Better continuous fog. Before it was making some weird noise, so now cleaned it up. It's not as strong as I want it to be, so I might later on just purchase a newer pump, maybe a little bit more powerful pump, as long as it's the same output, same voltage and frequency. So but for now this will do. It's nice and smooth, nice and continuous, and it's actually lasting for a very long time, which is really good. So I'm gonna alright, so now I'm just gonna wait for it to cool down so I can put it back together so I don't burn myself, and call it a day. Thanks everybody.